Hello, my name is Sean Reyes, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development for SocialWise. We're a content creation company and also specialize in social media management as well as the full array of digital marketing solutions. I appreciate your time today in joining me for a presentation on the real estate social media marketing revolution and the effectiveness of social media on the real estate and mortgage industry. This presentation will focus primarily on educating you, not only on social media, but all forms of marketing I think that are important for the real estate industry. For individuals out there that manage their own practice or work under a brokerage, are also trying to carve out an opportunity for themselves in the marketplace. And this is a great opportunity for me to share with you my 25 plus years of experience and hopefully give you some insight as to where you should be spending your time, effort, money, etc. Sit back, relax, and for the next 45 minutes or so, we'll talk more in depth. Also, at the end of the presentation, I have all of my contact information, and you can send me an email there or reach out to me by telephone so I can get you copies of the slides in PDF format or any additional information that you might need. Don't hesitate to reach out to me for that, and I don't expect you to do anything more than just listen to the presentation. Don't bother with notes, etc. It's more important for you to grasp the concepts by listening to them, and then I'll follow up certainly with all the documentation that you need to put together a more detailed tactical strategy. Let me start with telling you a little bit more about who I am and where I come from and what gives me the authority to talk about marketing as well as mortgage and real estate industry. I've got more than 25 years of marketing experience beginning in the healthcare industry. I came out of college and started doing more traditional marketing like PR and writing and community relations, desktop publishing. I was recruited then into technology business and had to, again, take on more responsibilities for sales and overseeing product development and essentially all facets of the business. And as it related to marketing, it gave me great perspective on marketing's role to impact more than just customer acquisition strategies. And then I went on to then run a number of different small businesses and again my own small business as a consulting firm and overseeing several different types of companies and their marketing responsibilities and marketing strategies and tactics for several different companies in many different types of industries, including mortgage and real estate, but also again healthcare, technology, you name it, I've probably touched it to some degree in all facets of whatever type of service delivery or product delivery models that you might have. So that's one of the things that I take great pride in is, again, understanding what your model is all about and then linking in tactically and strategically what's the best approach for customer acquisition. And that's really enabled me to be, to some degree, a thought leader in terms of how marketing and sales are interconnected and what really drives not only traffic and ultimately what conversion's all about, but really how it's all interrelated and interconnected so that you're being more efficient in all aspects of marketing and operations. And so this is really stems from me wearing many hats, everything from being a coder to a designer to writing, speaking, selling, leading, following, and publishing, all kinds of different models as it relates to marketing and customer acquisition and management. So that gives me, to some degree, a great foundation for helping design what it is that social media is to the real estate community and subsequently the product and service offering that SocialWise goes to market with. So today, in joining us, this presentation, I want to make sure that we stick to the agenda. And what we'll have a chance to do is we'll look at marketing and determine what's going on with marketing, look at the social media landscape, talk more specifically about social media ROI and the impact of those social media offering and benefits to the real estate professional. And we'll connect that to what SocialWise does and look at a few different case studies as it relates to mortgage and real estate. And I'll be able to offer you a blueprint for social media success, something that you can take back to your office and help you be more productive and seize the opportunity that really is available in the social media frontier. And we'll end it with some Q&A. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you at several different real estate shows, and there's a few things that I think are commonplace in the message that I hear, not only in the real estate industry, but across several different industries. And I wanted to share with you some of the things that I've recognized that are out there and relate them back to why social media is so different. So I think one of the things that first comes up is marketing is awfully expensive. It takes a lot more money nowadays to reach the same number of people that even 5 years ago you were able to reach, and certainly it takes a lot more dollars to be more more impactful. And so these strategies are often a lot more expensive and take a lot more time. So those results that you're looking for require a larger commitment, not only financially, but in terms of your patience. And essentially, to be effective at it, you have to be able to track it. And it takes a lot more time and effort and knowledge to be able to effectively track that data and then turn it back into actionable items that you can modify in order to optimize a campaign. It also takes talent, as many of you know who already have a website or are working with different types of technologies. You need designers, web developers, writers, analysts. And so that also makes it difficult for you to do what it is that you do. In other words, in the real estate and mortgage industries, if you also have to pick up these other skills and take on roles that are secondary to what your core business offering is. So most of us would agree that it's a lot more difficult for you to be effective at marketing, and you'd rather turn back to the things that you probably do best, which is trust that you're a good salesperson, and if you focus on sales, you don't really need to do any of this other marketing stuff because it seems like you end up having to do it yourself anyway. And so you stick with what is the status quo. It's good enough for now. Maybe later on down the road, I'll do some of that kind of marketing, or I'll do social media, or I'll build a website, whatever it might be. I think there's a lot of professionals in the mortgage and real estate industries that are saying, well, somewhere down the road, it'll make better sense for me. For right now, I'm going to hold ground. And I think in years past, that might have been something that you could afford to do. But in today's market, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in later on in the presentation, you're going to find out that it's really a changing landscape and you've got to get on board. So let's first look at the old school sales funnel. I think most of us came up with the traditional sales model of how you convert prospects into actual leads and commerce. So one of the things that you do is immediately, again, you identify those prospects by doing some advertising, create awareness, push those people that have an interest into taking some kind of desirable action, and that eventually leads to leads. And those leads are, again, converted into commerce. So I think this is a traditional funnel, and you'll find that in today's market, there's some things that have dramatically changed. And that's primarily because of this data here, that in 1975, the average American was exposed to 700 messages or brands on a daily basis. And today that number is 5,000. So you can imagine just how difficult it is for you to get your message across to consumers and prospects, in that to reach their ears and eyes and have them be able to recall your brand and the products and services that you offer at that moment of need is extremely difficult. And this, again, isn't a challenge just for the mortgage and real estate industries, but for every industry across this nation that is looking at reaching consumers. It's become a playground of information, and that's what happens as we move into this information age. There's just gobs and gobs and gobs of information for people to sort out, and so as a result, it's that much more difficult for you to have top-of-mind awareness. But one thing is true is you can't give up on marketing or trying to communicate out to your prospects, because that just gives opportunity to your competitors and ensures that over the long haul, your company won't survive. So I just want to reemphasize that the approach here isn't about marketing. This is about customer acquisition. So you have to begin to start thinking about marketing in terms of what it takes for you to acquire customers, not just put out a voice and send out a message. This is about gathering prospective clients, prospective revenue, and putting it in your back pocket. And so again, with all those messages out there in the market, one of the things that you need to really focus on, as is the case in a lot of industries and a lot of businesses, is looking for competitive differentiation. How is it that you stand out from other businesses or other agents in your respect? So one of the things that you look at is products. What are the products that you offer, and how are those products productized so that it makes it really easy for the consumer to pull it off the shelf? Again, in mortgage and real estate, they all kind of look the same, feel the same. Maybe you've got some nuances about a particular product that you offer, but essentially in the consumer's eyes, they all look the same. And so placement, this is where the consumer can pick up your product. In the real estate and mortgage industry, you're typically looking at very highly localized prospects, people that are in your backyard, in your community. Maybe you represent a particular housing tract, etc. Pricing, how it is that you go out to the market to offer your products and services from a pricing standpoint. This is typically what most businesses tend to lean on when they've got nothing else to differentiate themselves with. And so the problem with differentiating yourself on price is that there's always some competitor willing to go to the lowest common denominator. And you don't want to play the price game because there are people who go straight in the dirt. So in social media, it gives us an opportunity to really delineate what it is that you offer as compared to your competitors. That begins with positioning. So using a social media network like, say, Facebook gives you an opportunity to go out there to the market to tell them what you're really all about. So you can communicate to your community how is it that people should perceive you and how you perceive yourself, and sharing your values amongst that community so that you begin to build some kind of identity and core model for how it is that you deliver. And this is also tied into your packaging and your visual brand, so to speak. So do you look clean and professional, or is it you show up a little bit sloppy with some bad graphics? And this is real similar to how you make first impressions, whether it's a nice new suit or you've got a really nice color-coordinated outfit. This is what people look at you first to determine whether they respect you, whether they think you're the kind of professional they want to do business with. Promotion is also another way that you would differentiate yourself in that, where it is that you put out your messages. People might become more familiar with you because you've got real high participation with a Little League, or maybe you've got your ads on shopping carts, and it's all about branding and consistency and repetitive delivery of that message. But one of the areas that's really essential for real estate professionals, mortgage professionals, this whole idea that people really do matter and people make a difference. And this is where social media has a really huge impact, because there's this thing called social validation. It's really the core of where it is that referrals come from, and that is people want to do business with people they know, trust, and like. And especially in an industry where there's finances involved and there's a process that can be oftentimes very difficult, you want to be able to trust the people that you're working with. They've got to have a high degree of capability and level of professionalism. And that's the kind of person that you tend to want to get a referral from another friend from. And so that's where social media has a really big impact in those areas. So you realize that social media has an impact on 4 of these 7 competitive differentiators. And again, these are the core 7 that you might find in any business of how one particular business differentiates itself from anyone else in its class. And this is a model that would apply to just about any business. So take a look at a new school model that I authored just about a year ago that I call the e-marketing hornet planning. What this talks about is the sophistication that is now accessible in customer acquisition. So what happens is real familiar in the front half of this horn is that you're creating awareness, hoping that that awareness to some degree leads to interest, and even a few fall off there that actually have any desire, a few fall off there that lead to any action. And that's typically where we used to see leads coming from. And so what the new school here is that eventually this leads to an evaluation process rather than it turning into a lead. People tend to then decide, okay, well, I'm going to use this vast world of information called the internet to look and see what these guys are all about. So they're using it to look up your website and read about more what you offer. They're looking at Yelp to get social validation. They're going onto your Facebook page to see what other customers are saying about you, etc. So there's this whole evaluation process that ultimately leads to them either selecting you or not. And even then, the process isn't complete because they have to go through this process of actually doing business with you and seeing whether that experience is good or not. So that's this shoptimization issue of how easy it is to conduct a transaction with you. Were you able to execute that transaction, fulfill based on those expectations? How was the follow-up and the feedback? And were you able to retain customers because of how it is that you performed and that you delivered good product on time with an exceptional experience? And were you able to maintain high-value engagement? And that what high-value engagement there is just about, again, being visible to people, and were those interactions powerful and meaningful? And if you can do all of those things correctly, then you end up with brand loyalty, and that's where you can reduce your customer acquisition costs as well as leverage better returns on your investments, because you're taking those existing customers and you're turning them into a powerful lead generation machine. And so what this model also does is it illustrates what happens to leads along the way. where you start off with lead generation and lead capturing, lead nurturing, lead conversion, if you're able to nurture those people through to completion of a transaction and it was all a positive experience and you're able to maintain a high value of engagement, then you can really build brand loyalty. And when they come back to you for additional products and services, they don't have to start with a whole evaluation phase again. They come back to you as repeat customers. And this is also true when they're making referrals. So when a friend says, hey, do you know anybody in the market that is a good real estate agent, if they feel like they've got brand loyalty to you and they know that that experience is a phenomenal experience, they're going to recommend their friends come to you. So that's where referrals come from. And so when you take a look at this model, you'll clearly understand that this is a very different process as a result of the consumer having access to a large volume of information related to product and service providers. So I don't know if we want to call it marketing or not, but the reality is none of this is going away. Consumers want to have the validation. They want to have the information. They want to make informed decisions. And it's up to you to be able to provide that to them. So let me make marketing really easy for you because it's easy to get lost in all this volume of information. It really boils down to 4 key pillars. So the first is lead generation. This is about building a community. So no matter how it is that you create traffic, or again, if you want to put a sandwich board and walk up and down a busy street, you're essentially creating leads, or you're trying to generate leads by creating awareness. So this is about building your community, letting people know about who you are. Lead capturing. This is the ability to reconnect again and again and again with customers. So it's one thing to walk up and down the street wearing a sandwich board. It would be another to stop every car and get their business card, right? So your ability to reconnect with people requires that you obtain information from them, and ideally in a setting where they opt in voluntarily. So lead nurturing is all about the ability to reconnect with customers over and over and over again by giving them information that they deem valuable. So this could be everything from a rewards program that you might have with your company, or again, giving them information that they deem as important and valuable, and so therefore they're opening your email, or in the social media standpoint, they're coming to your Facebook page to engage with you because they like what you've got to say and they see the credibility and authority on a particular subject that you're talking about, or they find it entertaining. And eventually being there to be able to convert them. So this is all about commerce or some kind of transaction, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary transaction, but it has to be something that connects you to that individual from a transactional standpoint. And it's so important for that transaction to be authentic. In other words, it has to be relevant to the types of products or services that you offer. You can't just put out a fishbowl and say, hey, free drawing for an iPod, and expect that those are real valuable leads. I think we'd all agree that those aren't the kinds of leads that are qualified leads. And that's what we're trying to do here, is build a pool of qualified prospects. So these 4 pillars should frame everything that you do in the marketing sense. In other words, it doesn't have to be digital marketing. It doesn't have to be social media. Every type of marketing should encompass one or more of these 4 pillars. And that's what makes social media so impactful, is that it covers all 4 of these pillars very effectively. Let's talk more in depth about social media. So one of the things that I think a lot of people look at is how many likes do you have, in this particular illustration reflects that, is that if you don't have enough likes, then we're going to get our money back. It's not working. And that's not really true. Again, if you understand the nature of social media and what it does to build relationships and nurture those relationships over time, and also allow for the technology to convert those prospects and those relationships into commerce, social media is the most effective form of marketing. And let's look at why it is. Because in the social media world, remember when we first got onto Facebook, right? It allowed us to connect to our friends and find lost friends and make new friends, and even connect with groups and interests that were very similar to ours. And so there was this connection where you got to have access to millions of people that all had the same things that you felt. And so whether those relationships were real or they were virtual, to the average consumer, it was still part of their life and enhanced their life. And it really helped fuel that quick adoption. So people quickly got connected to Facebook and started connecting with other people. And it was really, for consumers, this connection to other consumers. And so businesses kind of said, hey, we love consumers. We want to be part of that as well. So then you saw that businesses started doing things like talking about products and services on their Facebook page, right? So they started thinking about over-investing their time or not investing enough. And that's evident if you take a look at a number of different social media pages from businesses. And they also perceived it as a way to market to consumers in a less expensive way. So Facebook's free, so let's go down Facebook and start marketing our products and services in that way. And really, you find that most organizations do a very poor job of executing their brand and their messaging on Facebook or any other consumer platform like that, because there's an emphasis so much on selling, and there's really no patience to nurture those relationships over time. And the tools for advertising, monitoring, publishing, measuring, and looking at all those metrics are really complex. So for you to be effective at it, it's been difficult for a lot of companies, and it really has led to Facebook being really kind of a place where businesses are actually not being overly welcomed by a lot of consumers because they all take it from a salesy, pitchy standpoint. So for you to be effective at it, you've got to be more social than commercial, and it turns out that more businesses are being commercial than are social. And it's understandable because our employers don't necessarily pay us to sit on Facebook all day long and be social. But if you look at, again, where Americans are spending their time, there's a lot of companies that feel like, well, maybe Facebook's just for kids, and that's not true. Overall, you look at where the Facebook users come from and how much hours in the day they're spending on connecting with Facebook, and you look at the profile or demographic data as to what kind of consumer they are, you'll find that they're high income, high education, senior executive level, in fact, business owners just like yourself. But again, they can spend a lot of time on Facebook, building their Facebook page, and communicating all of their core messaging on Facebook. So that's where, again, that's what SocialWise does, is help those business owners be effective on there. But understand that when you look at the profile of Facebook user, they are very, very affluent. We want to translate that social media experience into some kind of commercial traffic opportunity for our clients. So one of the things that we've been able to identify is what really is social media's purpose. And it really is a connection for brands and consumers as peers. And those good peer-to-peer connections increase dialogue. And that good dialogue builds familiarity that leads to relationships. And relationships are all about trust, right? The more that we trust people, the more that we feel like we really know them. And when we really know people, we tend to like them. And everybody wants to buy from someone they know, trust, and like. And this is referred to as social validation. We talked about this. And it's really the basis for why referrals work. If I feel like I'm going to get a great product or great service from a particular business because a friend referred me over to them, I'm going to go through a very quick validation, evaluation, and selection process. Let's talk about social media ROI, because I think that's where people get stuck with where dollars are going to, and is this really an effort worthy of my time? So the first step is consideration of the brand. So when people are following you on Facebook or on Twitter, you'll see that a good majority of them are considering the brand when they shop. And what that does is not just translate into consideration, but it also translates into buying the brand. And this is not just about considering the brand and then buying the brand, but also in recommending the brand to others. And you'll see that those numbers are also very impressive. And this is all just a reflection of that social validation concept and consumers wanting to connect with brands and businesses that they know, trust, and like. So let's take a specific look at how social media impacts the real estate environment. There's a recent survey, it's a 2013 Home Buying Institute survey and 2013 Inman News survey that reflects 78.6% of the agents who use social media as a sales tool outperform those who weren't using it at all. And if you looked at 40% of the agents surveyed, they said that they've closed between 2 and 5 deals as a direct result of social media marketing. So this ultimately hits your bottom line, right? So everybody's looking for social media ROI. Well, here it is. And if you look at those agents who are considered high income brackets, 1/3 of them have 1,000 friends or more on Facebook. And really, if you don't have 1,000 friends, at least get 500 friends, because 2/3 of those agents that are in the middle income bracket have 500 friends on Facebook. And so that really talks about their network and who they're interacting with and who they're getting to share their shared values with, and also position themselves as a trusted advisor in the real estate or mortgage industries. Let me take a moment to introduce to you what we do here at SocialWise. I think you probably have a clear understanding that what we do is in the social media space, more specifically for small business, and even more specific than that, for the real estate and mortgage industry. We also serve several different verticals like dentists and chiropractors and orthodontics. Basically, any vertical that requires social validation in order to be more effective in terms of generating qualified leads in the social media space. Let me offer you a real quick summary of what we do. Essentially, what we're going to do is start off with optimizing your account. So this would be creating your Facebook account or your Twitter account, your LinkedIn account, and then optimizing those accounts. So that not only includes all the graphics that would be associated with it, hopefully your branding. If not, we also do some minimal branding for clients, but also with the regular content postings that would go up on a daily basis. So every single day, we're optimizing a post to go onto Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook that's very specific to the platform. And again, is a reflection of your core offering, and so it's about your type of industry. And these daily posts really drive engagement. Again, what we're really doing is hoping that clients see these and they comment on them, they like them, they share them, and that really commences a relationship with you. And hopefully they like your page, and therefore you're able to reconnect with them again and again and again because of that interaction that's happening in the social media front. And then what we do is we analyze those posts and their level of engagement, and we put some dollars from an advertising standpoint behind those posts to promote them, not only to all of your recipients or the people that like your page, because I'm not sure if many of you are aware that even though somebody likes your page, it doesn't necessarily mean that your post is hitting their news feed. In fact, you'll find that on average, the company's post normally hits only a little bit more than 17% of the total community that likes their page. So what we do is we make sure that those people who do like your page end up seeing your post, and we do that through advertising. And that advertising also extends to friends of friends. So again, people that you don't necessarily have a relationship with, but also want to create a relationship as a result of that social network. And then lastly is those people who are in your local community that you want to be able to get in front of. Even though there is no existing relationship, we can buy access via advertising to make sure that your posts reach out to those individuals. And what we'll also do is, again, because of those daily posts, we're creating engagement over time. And what we want to be able to do is utilize Facebook application technology to be there at the point that they eventually convert. So again, we're creating these relationships, we're nurturing them over time, and then when they're ready to convert and electing to then convert into some kind of transaction, we can utilize this technology to capture them on an offer page like this. So we'll work with you on a monthly basis to modify an offer, or for you to, again, generate what it is that ultimately creates some kind of trigger mechanism for a customer to reach out to you or a prospect to reach out to you and say, I'd like to engage in a transaction. So, and then we go back and report to you on a monthly basis the progress of each one of these campaigns. Again, it's daily content, and we're looking at that engagement, we're measuring it, but we also want to report to you how many likes are created, how many of them are local, what is that engagement with that content, and that helps you from an ROI standpoint get behind how many people eventually converted through that offer page and became customers. So that's where the social media ROI comes from, and that's what we do here. I won't spend a lot of time on the different models that we offer, but I will let you know that our most successful package is a $397 a month offer. It's a special offer for new customers and includes not only all the content and, again, optimizing the page or creating the page and then the daily post, but also includes the advertising component to that. So that's simply a pass-through that we pay to Facebook to allow us to reach out and get into that community to find you new leads and new prospects. I don't know that you'll find another customer acquisition strategy that will be as affordable as that. So at the end of the presentation, you'll have a chance to review my contact information, reach out to me, and let me know, again, if that's something that you'd like to look into. Let me share with you a case study involving an individual who has a very successful brokerage firm, but again, he didn't really have a social media presence, and as a result, didn't really have an effective way to reach out into his community. I think he was doing some things like, again, he had a website, he had some email newsletters and such, but they didn't have quite the impact that he was looking for. And again, the open rates on those emails just weren't happening on a regular basis. And he didn't really have any other way of reaching out to acquire new prospects. So we took him on as a client, and again, we built all his branding. We took care of his Facebook banner on the front. We put together the offer page, and then we did his daily posts and went about analyzing those posts and putting some dollars in a Facebook advertising program to reach out into his local service area to grow those likes. And after 3 weeks' time, we grew 289 likes, and we had high engagement in that 213 people were talking about him, and that actually led to one deal coming through for him. So that's a pretty remarkable ROI when you think about over 3 weeks period, somebody actually getting a deal out of it. And I'm not going to suggest that every client opportunity is going to end up yielding a result like this, but I will say that it serves as a cornerstone for him creating a sophisticated referral channel, filling that sales pipe up, and again, nurturing those prospects so they become converted leads. What you want to do is think through that these are about relationships, and relationships take time. Yet I'm very confident that in 3 to 6 months, you'll see that funnel that we fill up on a daily basis with new likes eventually converts into new prospect opportunities. Again, people reaching out to you. I had a friend just the other day reach out to her Facebook community asking if they had anybody in their network that was a real estate agent. So I took the opportunity to pass them over to Rob. And again, that's just because of the relationship I have with Rob, maybe on a business standpoint, but it certainly would be a lot more impactful if Rob and I were friends, or I felt like I had had a relationship with Rob over time, and because I read his posts, I saw his shared values. They were things that I could really understand and get behind. So that's where that social media comes from. And the validation, again, that we got with the Rezone Group, they were a mortgage firm and, again, didn't have a Facebook presence before. 0 likes, took them in 2 weeks' time to 106 likes with 104 people talking about them. So it's really that level of engagement that we're talking about, because that drives, again, what it is that you're able to post and then have appear on their news feed. And you need high engagement in order for your post to appear on the news feeds of those in your community who like your page. So again, we also did an offer page that led to a couple of inquiries. Again, a real soft place for a prospect to land in. We're giving them information about what the Rezone Group does and who Greg and Jose Luis are, and how Greg and Jose Luis can be trusted advisors when it comes to issues of mortgage and home refinance. And one of the things that is clear in both Rob's and the Rezone Group's testimony is that this whole social media effort was hands-free for them. In other words, we built it from the ground up. We took their values and obviously represented their firms very nicely in a social media platform. And it really did not require much time from them. They had to look at maybe a handful of posts that again would require their approval. But for the most part, it was very hands-free for them. And that's what they're looking for. Their interest is in closing deals in the real estate sector and not in marketing and advertising their firm, but rather having a trusted partner to do that for them. And that's what SocialWise does. One of the things that I had the opportunity to develop along with some colleagues here on the leadership team of SocialWise was probably one of the only social media ROI models that I've seen, certainly one that's been published already, and incorporates the 4 pillars of marketing that we were talking about: lead generation, lead nurturing, lead capturing, and lead conversion. We've made this into a very comprehensive yet very simple model that we implement on behalf of our clients, and we're happy to share with you as well, because it involves, while there's a great deal of simplicity involved with it, there's also a certain level of sophistication that's involved with understanding the technology and understanding what it is that you have to put in front of a prospective client to get them to graduate fluidly from one sector to another. So we've been able to do that, and we've been able to gather data on how to effectively communicate with prospects so that we get them to engage with our clients and end up engaging with their products and services. And like that model that I was happy to share with you, I also want to walk you through kind of a blueprint for what you could be doing to give yourself a chance in the social media space and be really successful. So this is, again, information I'm happy to share with you. My feeling is that if you're successful in your practice and you begin to create new sales opportunities for yourself, my hope is that you're going to be so busy that you're going to be looking for a partner who also understands that and who also gives validation for what that work is that you've put in creating that for yourself. Let me also caution you not to wait for too long for the conditions to be ideal, right? There's a sense of urgency in this marketplace, especially with social media, because relationships with consumers in your local service area aren't infinite. I mean, a consumer is only likely to like one business page from an agent, and so you want that business page to be yours and not your competitors, right? Investing in customer retention and recruitment is mandatory. Especially as a small business. If you're not doing it, understand that your competition is, so you want to get on it before you get left behind. I'm going to walk you through this. This is something you can implement today. I promised you I'd leave you with some really valuable information for you to be successful. And so let's go through that. So number one, you got to get a business Facebook page up and get it up now. Many of you might be using a personal Facebook page. It's not the same as a business Facebook page, and there's a couple things that are specific to why that is. So I can just tell you that the analytics component and the advertising component are not accessible on individual pages. So again, if you're looking for new prospects and new leads, you got to get a business page. Also, selecting a Facebook URL that is hyper-localized. There's some strategies there if you want to look at a specific targeted market geographically. Selecting a name of your Facebook page that ties into that will also have some rewards for you as Facebook and social media become more integrated in the Google algorithm. So just keep an eye out for that, and there's an opportunity there for you as well. And if you want to optimize it, so just making sure that all the information is correct, making sure, and you won't believe how many organizations don't take the time to look at things like email addresses and website addresses and locations and suite numbers, and even more specifically, the category of service and or products that you provide. Those are all things that are all searchable via Facebook's graph search, so you want to be optimized for that as well. And you want to create compelling cover art. Again, it's how you walk into the room. It's how you look. It's how you present yourself visually. Don't skimp on that. Make sure that you are using high quality artwork, either that you've developed yourself or that you've sought from another individual who's very good at graphics. Put your logo in the profile picture. Individuals tend to want to put, and I see this a lot in the real estate industry, you're using your face, and that's great. People want to see your face and your smiling face, but it's not really your brand. And it's certainly not a brand that's immediately recognizable. So think about those new customers who don't have a relationship with you and are still trying to decide whether to have a relationship with you. I would much rather them see your logo and your branding than your face. Not to say that you're not a good-looking individual, but to say that that first interaction should be more of a professional environment. And you want to be able to put up one post at least every day for 1 week. I mean, try it for a week every day. Think through quality content. Make sure that you can do it for a week. And if you can't, well, then SocialWise is right here for you. But if you can, you'll get some ideas to the effort that we have to go through to make sure that quality content is there. And quality content is super important because that ultimately affects whether your posts appear on the news feed of those people who like your page. Again, we talked about only about a little bit more than 17% of your posts are going to hit your Facebook users or your Facebook community. And that's usually a reflection of poor content engagement. So you want to be able to make sure that your content is engaged. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you're taking time and considering what it is that you're posting and making sure it has some value to those people who view it. So the kind of content that SocialWise posts daily is what we call the backdrop. It's useful content that is relevant to you and your industry. And we're building qualified leads, so it's important to create authentic relationships that also elevate your brand. And so your authority on the subject matter is really important. And in this case, it's real estate. And it's really also about your approachability. So it's the kind of content that gets shared so that those positive attributes reflect well onto your brand and onto that Facebook user who's just meeting you for the first time. So it's this backdrop content that seals relationships with your current customers as well as opens doors to prospective customers. It's engaging and it's professional, it's credible, it's authoritative. And SocialWise covers that for you. So the content that is personal gives you a chance to join SocialWise in posting content on your own page. So if you're managing your own posts right now, let me just give you some guidelines on how to come up with content that supplements that backdrop content. So in doing so, here's some tips. Take 2 posts that ask a question, right? That's creating dialogue. It creates engagement. When you ask a question, people have no choice but to answer it, right? Especially on Facebook. And we want one post about a happy employee personal story, right? So people, this is part of that differentiation model that I was talking about. People are important. They want to know what you are all about and making sure that they connect with what you are all about. Not only you, but also the people that work for you or work in your office. One post about a happy customer story. It shows your connection to people and to real people, people that matter to you. You also want to show 2 posts that really kind of reflect your product and your employees together as a kind of a cohesive unit. You're able to connect not only products to people, but you're doing it in a way that showcases both of them. So it's a little bit self-centered, but into some respect, because it relates to people, it's still a feel-good story. And you want 2 posts that illustrate a shared value. So whether you're into your home or your pets or your cars, people tend to connect because of things that are personal, and so you want to create any opportunity to do that, yet remaining professional, right? And limit yourself to maybe only 1 post that sells. I tend to look at for 7 unselfish posts about things that they're interested in, maybe you can have only 1 post that really talks about salesy, pitchy kind of stuff. I really try to discourage it because, again, this is a consumer platform. It's not a business platform. You're trying to appeal to them, to engage that content, and people don't want to be sold to, but everybody loves being a buyer. So, all right, if you're going to put something that sells, put something in there that really encourages them, rewards them for being a buyer. And then overall track your engagement and promote your posts to get those new leads. So again, this is why it circles back to you having a business page and not a personal page, because you're going to want to track that engagement and spend some ad dollars to make sure that you're reaching out to new prospects. So that's all. In fact, I'm looking for some emails from some individuals that had any questions, and I don't see any of them come through. So here's my contact information. And I think one of the things that I can maybe ask of myself is, right, how long does it take to get up and going? If we decided to do business together, and I'd certainly love to have that opportunity, usually only takes about 3 or 4 days to get you up and going. And that's usually because we're trying to optimize that page, get you some new graphics, and then give you a chance to approve maybe the first month's content. So it doesn't take long at all. We're certainly very efficient. And if I could share with you, again, we did this stuff for the Razone Group and Rob Montgomery. Again, they didn't have anything as far as branding goes and the graphics and such. So that's what we did in relatively 2 days' time. We've got a really solid team here that really takes the time to put together a compelling solution for you. In fact, our writing team is led by the former editor of Entrepreneur Magazine, and she's got an army of people that are just super creative in terms of their ability to get that message and craft engaging content that consumers want to read. Here's my information. I want to make myself accessible to you. If you have any questions, or again, you want to have clarification on anything I presented to you, in fact, feel free to send me an email, and I can give you this slide deck as well and share with you all that I know to help you be successful. I appreciate your time with me today. I look forward to speaking to you in the very near future about how we can help you in the social media front. And until then, cheers.